In the quiet, moon-washed corridors of medieval Europe where torches hissed softly in the night, and the sound of armored boots echoed through stone passageways, there existed a world held together by a set of rules that, to the modern listener, seem unbelievably strange, even absurd, yet were carved deeply into the rhythm of daily life for reasons that made perfect sense at the time, or at least seemed to. Imagine drifting into a dimly lit town square centuries ago, where cobblestones still warm from the afternoon sun lay under your feet and the scent of hearth smoke hung lazily in the air. Here, beneath the creaking wooden sign of a blacksmith or the velvet-draped windows of a nobleman's hall, you would find that the most ordinary moments were governed by customs designed to preserve honor, maintain purity, protect the sacred, or simply prevent chaos from taking hold. One of the strangest yet most important rules was the medieval curfew bell, which did not merely remind citizens to go home, but literally signaled the extinguishing of all household fires. Failure to comply risked the entire wooden town erupting in flames, so every family, without question, smothered their hearth before darkness tightened its grip. Similarly, trial by bread, a bizarre ritual used to test honesty, required an accused person to swallow a dense, dry piece of consecrated bread without choking. It sounds ridiculous, but their belief was that guilt physically manifested through anxiety and trembling, and those who were innocent would remain calm and able to swallow naturally. Another rule dictated that bathing too frequently was suspicious and morally questionable, as many believed illness traveled through steam, warm pores, and perfumed oils, meaning the cleanest smelling individuals were sometimes viewed with more distrust than those covered in dust and sweat. Medieval towns also enforced strict night-walking rules, where anyone caught outside after dark without a lit lantern was automatically considered a criminal, spy, or witch. The idea was simple. Honest people had nothing to hide and carried light, while those without it wished to move unseen. Even the way people ate had regulations. Forks, for example, were rejected in some regions as sinful because they resembled the devil's tool, and eating directly with hands was considered a sign of humility, purity, and the acceptance of God's natural gifts. It took centuries for the fork to be accepted at European tables. Meanwhile, in noble households, there existed the right-hand rule, where guests were required to keep their right hand always visible during banquets, so hosts could ensure they weren't reaching for concealed daggers or slipping poison into cups. This practice wasn't paranoia, but self-preservation in a world where political rivalries turned deadly overnight. There was even a regulation regarding shoes. A traveler arriving at a feasting hall had to remove their footwear at the door, not just out of courtesy, but to demonstrate peaceful intent, since daggers were often hidden within boots, and the simple act of stepping barefoot onto rush-strewn floors assured the host you came without treachery. Medieval villages also had strict rules on noise. Singing, playing instruments, or loudly working after a certain hour was forbidden, not merely for quiet, but because people believed excessive nighttime sound attracted wandering spirits and provoked supernatural misfortune. In monasteries, there were rules that controlled even breathing patterns during communal prayer. Monks synchronized inhaling and exhaling so perfectly that the harmony of their breath was considered part of the sacred ritual itself, and any disruption was treated as an infraction. Another curious rule governed wells and water sources. No one was allowed to draw water at night, not only out of fear of falling in, but because people believed demons watched the reflections on water surfaces after sunset, ready to imitate faces and steal souls if someone looked directly at them. Even stranger were rules about colors. Peasants in many regions were forbidden to wear bright shades like crimson, sapphire, or gold, because vivid dyes were symbols of wealth, status, and divine favor. To protect social order, laws mandated which colors one's rank allowed. Meanwhile, in medical practice, there existed the urine wheel, a rule-bound diagnostic tool requiring physicians to examine the color of urine under sunlight and match it to a painted wheel that supposedly revealed everything from stomach imbalance to demonic influence. As primitive as it sounds, it provided one of the earliest attempts at systematic medical observation. There were rules for sleep, too. Medieval people believed in first sleep and second sleep, a natural cycle where individuals slept a few hours, woke around midnight for quiet reflection or prayer, then returned to bed for the remaining portion of rest. Anyone who slept straight through the night was viewed with suspicion, thought to be lazy, sick, or spiritually negligent. Even marital life had its set of unusual rules. Newlyweds were often forbidden from sharing a bed for the first few nights, not to distance them, but to let protective charms and blessings settle properly around the home. As many believed early intimacy invited jealous spirits or bad luck, guilds had rules dictating how loudly apprentices could speak, how long they could observe a masterwork, and when they were allowed to touch tools. These restrictions prevented accidents and preserved trade secrets, ensuring the livelihood of every artisan in the community. Farmers followed rules that regulated when animals could graze on shared land, not out of bureaucracy, but because mismanagement could lead to famine in a society where every harvest mattered. Even death was governed strictly. Families had to stop clocks, cover mirrors, and open windows before a body was washed. Believing these steps allowed the soul to leave peacefully and prevented restless spirits from lingering. Many of these rules appear strange today, but if you close your eyes and picture a world without electricity, without modern medicine, without police patrols or scientific explanations, you can understand why people clung to structure, ritual, and superstition. Their rules were not nonsensical, but survival strategies shaped by fear, faith, and the fragile nature of medieval life. And so, in this world of candlelit shadows and watchful saints, every choice, every movement, and every whispered breath was part of an intricate tapestry of customs meant to protect life in a time when danger was only a spark, a sigh, or a suspicious glance away. In the deep silence of medieval nights, when the sky hung low and heavy with drifting clouds and the cold wind slipped through the cracks of wooden shutters, the rules that governed life became even stranger rules, designed not only to protect but to maintain order in a world where the line between the natural and the supernatural felt thin enough to snap with a whisper. Imagine walking through a castle corridor lit only by flickering torches, the smoke curling toward ceilings stained dark from centuries of flame. Here, servants followed strict whispering rules after dusk, forbidden from speaking above a murmur because it was believed that loud voices stirred restless spirits that roamed the halls, searching for warmth and attention. In many manors, it was customary for guards to tap their spears against stone walls at steady intervals, not merely to announce their patrol, but to ward off invisible entities said to lurk in cold corners. Even the simple act of opening a door demanded protocol. One had to knock softly 3 times before entering any room after sunset, even their own living quarters, as a ritual for permission from unseen forces believed to inhabit the shadows. Meanwhile, in village huts where straw roofs rustled like whispering fingers, families kept small bowls of salt on windowsills as part of a rule that prevented malevolent energies from slipping inside with the night breeze. Salt was precious, and yet it was willingly sacrificed as a protective seal. Travelers arriving after sundown faced an entirely different set of regulations. No one was allowed to enter a settlement without announcing themselves loudly at the gate, stating their name, origin, and purpose, not just for security, but because townsfolk believed unannounced visitors could be shapeshifters or forest spirits disguised in human form. Even inns had peculiar rules. Guests were required to sleep with their boots close to the door, toes facing outward, so if they died in the night, their spirit would know which way to leave and wouldn't wander the building confused. Medieval stables enforced nighttime silence, as horses were thought to sense dark omens better than humans. If a horse neighed or stomped after midnight, the entire household believed misfortune was approaching and sometimes performed hasty cleansing rituals. In monasteries, where the candlelit glow cast halos across austere stone floors, monks practiced the rule of sacred stillness during evening hours, a custom that forbade unnecessary movements, footsteps, or even adjusting one's robe, because silence was believed to be the purest form of prayer and the best shield against temptation. Out in the countryside, shepherds followed a curious tradition of turning their lanterns backward when crossing certain meadows, convinced that showing light to particular patches of earth invited fairy mischief, while hiding the flame protected both flock and shepherd. Household rules became even stranger during nights of strong winds. Many families believed wind carried dying souls searching for warmth, so they were forbidden from standing directly in front of chimneys or open windows, fearing a spirit could slip into their body and cause sudden illness. Even cooking had nighttime restrictions. No one was allowed to stir cauldrons after a specific hour, as the motion was thought to mimic witchcraft rituals, and a harmless late-night meal could make the entire house suspect of dabbling in forbidden arts. In some regions, it was customary to leave one unattended candle burning throughout the night, not for light, but to give wandering spirits a place to rest so they wouldn't disturb the sleeping household. Extinguishing that candle early was considered one of the gravest spiritual offenses, believed to anger unseen guests. When children awoke frightened from dreams, parents followed a rule instructing them to hand the child a warm stone from the hearth. Believing it absorbed the lingering nightmare and trapped it until morning light dissolved the fear. Even the presence of cats was regulated. If a black cat crossed the threshold after midnight, the family was required to recite protective verses, because cats were believed to travel between visible and invisible worlds, carrying energies that needed to be balanced before dawn. And so, as darkness wrapped around medieval villages, like a thick cloak. Every breath, movement, and decision became part of a nightly ritual, a choreography shaped by fear, hope, and a desire for safety, in a world where uncertainty lived in every shadow and where even the coldest breeze felt like a whisper from realms just beyond human understanding. In the winding, torchlit world of medieval life where superstition clung to stone walls like ivy and every distant echo carried meaning, there existed rules so peculiar, so strangely specific, that to a modern audience they might sound like the inventions of storytellers. Yet for those who lived beneath the weight of uncertainty, they were trusted tools of survival, woven into the very fabric of daily routine, especially during the quiet hours when work ceased and families gathered around dim hearth fires to shield themselves from the mysteries lurking beyond their wooden doors. Consider the rule of threshold purity, a custom followed almost obsessively by villagers who believed that the doorway of a home acted as a spiritual boundary. No one was allowed to sweep dirt outward across the threshold, because doing so was thought to push blessings and good fortune out into the street. So instead, people swept inward, gathering dust into corners no one dared disturb after dusk. There was also the rule that forbade sitting with one's back directly facing an open door at night. People believed that the unseen could slip in unnoticed and attach itself to anyone who exposed their back to the darkness. In marketplaces, strange rules dictated how tradespeople behaved before sunrise baking. For instance, were forbidden from kneading dough in complete silence, required instead to hum softly or whisper brief prayers as they worked, not as a religious formality, but to prove to early customers that no dark enchantments had been mixed into their bread. Tailors followed their own odd restrictions, refusing to leave needlework unfinished overnight because they believed wandering spirits threaded themselves through loose stitches, cursing the garment and the wearer alike. Even traveling through the forest came with unusual protocols. Wanderers were taught to never break a branch in certain groves, not because of the trees themselves, but due to the belief that woodland guardians monitored every disturbance, and a snapped twig could provoke misfortune or lead travelers off the path. In many regions, families hung bundles of dried herbs above their tables, not as decoration, but as obedience to a rule that forbade eating beneath empty wood, the superstition that unadorned beams attracted sickness dropping invisibly from rafters. The herbs acted as both protection and a practical deterrent for insects, serving spiritual and earthly purposes alike. During winter months, when the night sky stretched endlessly over frozen fields, people practiced the rule of silent warming. No one was allowed to crack or poke at the fire excessively after a certain hour, for they believed that unnecessary noise around flames summoned wandering cold spirits, entities said to resent warmth and capable of bringing sudden chills or strange nightly illnesses. Healers and wise women followed their own strictures. They were forbidden from touching certain medicinal plants before the sun fully cleared the horizon, because it was believed that herbs gathered too early carried the lingering bitterness of the night, weakening their healing potential. In coastal villages, fishermen adhered to a rule against whistling while mending nets. Whistling, they believed, called the wind, and calling the wind risked stirring storms that could swallow entire crews. so even the most cheerful workers exchanged silence for safety. At feasts, guests were bound by the rule of shared gaze strange, custom that required everyone at the table to make eye contact when raising cups, not out of courtesy, but to prove no one intended treachery, for breaking eye contact was interpreted as evidence of deceit, particularly in times when poisoning was a common, silent weapon. Knights, for all their discipline and rigid training, obeyed unusual codes as well. Before riding into unfamiliar territory, they would tap the hilt of their sword 3 times against their armor, believing the sound awakened protective ancestral spirits resting within the metal. A symbolic act meant to merge skill with spiritual guardianship. In some towns, bridges had their own rules, with travelers required to pause at the midpoint and look toward the water to acknowledge the river spirit said to guard the crossing. Ignoring this practice invited either bad weather or poor luck on the road ahead. Even inns, lively during the day with chatter and clattering tankards, transformed into places of strict custom after midnight. Guests were discouraged from speaking directly into mirrors, as it was believed that reflections became thin during late hours, vulnerable to spiritual interference that could steal one's voice or mimic one's face by morning. In wealthier households, the rule of quiet linen governed how servants handled curtains and cloth goods after sunset. Shaking out fabric at night was considered dangerous because it was believed to disturb dust spirits, subtle forces that caused respiratory ailments if angered. Children were taught never to point at the moon, a rule followed across multiple regions, because pointing at celestial bodies was thought to insult them, bringing poor harvests or causing the child's finger to develop a mysterious ache known as moon stiffness. Even musicians were bound by peculiar restrictions. No stringed instrument could be left untuned overnight, as villagers believed untuned strings attracted mischievous spirits that played discordant notes in the dark, inviting nightmares. And while these customs may seem irrational today, each one was born from a blend of fear, experience, imagination, and the desperate human desire for control in a world where danger was real, where fate felt unpredictable, and where the unseen played as significant a role as the visible. For medieval people, strange rules were anchors in an ocean of uncertainty, tiny rituals that made the night feel just a little less vast, a little less threatening, and a little more survivable, guiding their steps through the shadows until the first warm glow of dawn finally washed fear from the world. In the vast, unpredictable landscape of medieval society where kingdoms rose and fell like the tides, and ordinary people navigated life beneath the constant weight of superstition, natural danger, and rigid authority, there existed rules, so unusual and deeply ingrained that they defined not just behavior, but the rhythm of existence itself, shaping how people spoke, worked, worshipped, and even dreamed. Rules that today might seem amusing, bizarre, or unnecessarily strict. Yet, for those living in an era where uncertainty hovered like fog over every field and fortress, these customs offered structure and protection in a world where survival depended on caution as much as courage. Picture a bustling medieval town center at dawn. Merchants setting up stalls of pottery and cloth, the clang of blacksmiths echoing off stone walls, the scent of fresh bread and damp earth mingling in the air. Amid this everyday life, an unseen network of regulations buzzed beneath the surface, determining everything from who could speak first in a conversation to how many steps a person could take while carrying a lit torch. One such rule was the market silence hour, an early morning period during which vendors were forbidden from shouting prices or calling out to customers. The belief was that loud noise before the sun fully rose unsettled protective spirits and invited conflict or misfortune to the marketplace. In many towns, craftsmen followed the rule of hands, which dictated that no artisan could touch someone else's tools under any circumstances. For tools were seen almost as extensions of the worker's own spirit, and violating that boundary risked transferring unwanted energies or curses. Meanwhile, travelers entering a new settlement had to comply with the peculiar custom of stone greetings. Touching a specific stone near the Gayata gesture, believed to acknowledge the land's guardian spirits and ensure peaceful entry. Ignoring the stone was considered a direct insult to the community and often led to being denied access. Even animals played a role in enforcing strange societal rules. Dogs, especially in rural villages, were trained to bark relentlessly at anyone who crossed property lines without calling out a greeting, not just as a warning system, but because people believed dogs could sense dishonesty and corruption better than humans. Another curious rule was the harvest boundary law, which forbade reapers from cutting crops at the exact edge of a neighbor's field, no matter how close the plants grew together. It wasn't simply about property, but about avoiding the wrath of harvest spirits who were said to guard the final rows of grain. In wealthier households, servants had to follow strict codes of conduct, such as silent footwear, where no servant was permitted to let footsteps echo in hallways after supper, because nobles believed nighttime noise disturbed the delicate balance of the household's protective charms. Apprentices learning trades in guilds were bound by their own rules. They were forbidden from looking directly at a master craftsman while he worked during the first hour of the day, not out of arrogance, but because it was believed that the master's skill was spiritually vulnerable during early hours, and a direct gaze could unintentionally steal inspiration or weaken craftsmanship. Even the placement of objects followed bizarre customs. For example, leaving a broom upright was strictly prohibited because it was believed to create a spiritual pathway for mischief spirits to slip into the home. So brooms always had to be laid flat or hung. Medieval inns imposed the unusual table oath tradition, requiring travelers to place a hand on the table before eating to symbolize honesty and peaceful intent of precaution, born from centuries of feuds and sudden betrayals. In coastal regions, fishermen obeyed the rope respect rule, never stepping over coiled ropes on the docks because they believed it tangled the spirit of the sea, causing knots in the wind and bringing storms upon the ships. It was a superstition, yes, but also a practical safety rule disguised in spiritual fear. Healers and herbalists adhered to the dark leaf ban, refusing to use any plant leaves harvested during certain phases of the moon because such leaves were thought to carry too much nocturnal energy, making their medicine unstable or dangerous. Children were taught the shadow rule, never to play directly in their own shadow at sunset, because, according to old belief, stepping in a fading shadow weakened one's vitality as the day's spirits withdrew. Even kings and nobles were not free from odd restrictions. Some courts practiced the mirror veil rule, covering all reflective surfaces during important decision-making sessions so that advisors wouldn't be influenced by vanity, distraction, or spiritual reflections. Believed to offer false guidance, churches enforced their own strange customs. No one was allowed to walk behind the altar without special permission, not because of structural reasons, but because the space was believed to be a thin place between the physical and the divine, capable of overwhelming those unprepared. And in the countryside, farmers obeyed a rule so curious it seems almost humorous. They were forbidden from speaking directly to scarecrows after sunset, fearfully believing these straw guardians were spiritually active at night and might misunderstand human speech as a command or insult. Every one of these rules, though seemingly odd, was woven into a tapestry of fear, practicality, belief, and necessity. In a time without modern knowledge, where illness arrived without warning, storms destroyed months of work, and violence lurked on unguarded roads, people turned to rituals and customs as anchors, trusting that by obeying these invisible boundaries, they could keep chaos at bay. And so the medieval world spun forward, held together by traditions that blended superstition with survival. Each strange rule acting as a thread, stitching fragile security into the endless uncertainties of daily life. In the sprawling maze of medieval life where cracked stone roads wound through crowded markets, echoing courtyards, murky taverns, and solemn monasteries, there were rules so deeply embedded in daily habits that people followed them instinctively, rarely questioning their origins, simply trusting that these customs protected them from misfortune, from unseen threats, and from the unpredictable forces that shaped their world. Rules that today sound impossibly strange, yet to them held the same weight as any law written by kings. One such rule was the bread-turning law, an odd custom requiring that whenever a loaf of bread fell upside down, someone had to immediately flip it over, because upside-down bread was believed to attract hunger spirits that brought famine or ruined the household's luck. Bakers even carved small crosses into their loaves to keep evil forces away. In workshops, craftsmen followed the sharp-edge rule, which stated that no blade, whether a knife, chisel, or sword, could be left pointing directly at a person or doorway, for such placement was believed to cut through spiritual protection and invite injury or conflict. In wealthier towns, tavern owners enforced the empty cup ban, a strange regulation forbidding patrons from leaving cups completely dry on the table, because an empty cup symbolized loneliness or death and was feared to summon misfortune. To avoid this, travelers often left a few drops of ale behind. Medieval cities also had the silent bridge custom, where anyone crossing a bridge at dusk was required to walk quietly out of respect for river spirits, who were thought to grow restless when disturbed, potentially causing floods or sweeping away travelers. In monasteries, monks practiced the ink patience rule, refusing to begin copying sacred texts until their ink pots had been still for exactly the length of one whispered prayer, believing that ink stirred too quickly absorbed restless energy, causing mistakes or spiritual corruption in the manuscript. Even simple conversations followed peculiar guidelines. Peasants never spoke someone's full name after nightfall, fearing it drew the attention of wandering spirits who might latch on to the person mentioned, bringing nightmares or illness. Farm animals, too, had rules tied to them. Chickens were never allowed to sleep near open windows because their spirits were believed to be fragile, and the cold night breeze could carry them away, causing the bird to stop laying eggs or die suddenly. In noble houses, visitors were required to pause briefly upon entering and place a hand on the nearest wall, acknowledging the guardian stones believed to protect the home. Ignoring this rule was seen as an insult and a sign of disrespect. Travelers obeyed the cloak resting rule, always laying their cloak with the inside facing upward at inns, because turning it downward was said to trap bad luck in its folds, carrying misfortune across long distances. Among musicians, there was a strange custom that no harp or lute should be played until a moment of silence had passed, as rushing into music without stillness was thought to disrespect the muse or anger spirits that guided creativity. In fishing villages, families followed the net blessing, a ritual where nets were sprinkled with a pinch of ash each evening to honor ancestral fishermen believed to guide and protect those who cast nets at dawn. Even household chores had odd restrictions. Sweeping after supper was forbidden because villagers believed nighttime sweeping erased the day's blessings, leaving homes spiritually vulnerable. In some towns, there was an unusual dining rule requiring that the first person who finished eating place their spoon crosswise on the table, symbolizing protection over the entire meal. Failing to do so was feared to invite jealousy from wandering spirits that might be drawn by the smell of food. Women preparing meals followed the quiet pot tradition, where they avoided tapping metal ladles against cauldrons because the sharp sound was believed to summon bad weather, especially storms. In the countryside, shepherds practiced the even step path, ensuring they took an even number of steps when returning home at night, as odd number steps were believed to confuse protective spirits and attract shadowy creatures from the woods. Bakers had a rule about ovens. They were forbidden from staring directly into the flames for too long, believing fire had a personality that could turn against those who watched it with too much intensity. Children were taught the reflection rule, never to look into still water during twilight, because reflections at that hour were believed to show more than just faces they might reveal, spirits or omens that could frighten the young. And in cities, guards followed the lantern oath, lifting their lanterns to eye level at each change of shift, symbolizing clarity and vigilance, an action believed to chase away spiritual blindness. All these customs woven seamlessly into daily routines may appear humorous or unnecessary today, but in a world lacking scientific certainty, where illness appeared without warning, storms destroyed livelihoods within moments, and the unseen was feared as much as the seen. These rules offered comfort, structure, and the illusion of control. They were tiny acts of faith in a world shrouded in mystery, guiding people through each day and giving them courage to face the unknown with a sense of ritualized protection. In the intricate web of medieval customs where every gesture, object, and breath seemed entangled with unseen meanings, there existed a vast collection of rules that shaped not only how people behaved, but how they thought, believed, and survived, creating a world where superstition blended flawlessly with practicality, giving rise to traditions that appear strange now, but once served as invisible pillars, holding communities together through fear, faith, and routine. One such rule was the doorway blessing, a custom practiced across countless villages in which nobody was allowed to walk through a doorway without briefly touching the wooden frame with their fingertips. Tracing a small circle or whispering a short phrase meant to honor household spirits believed to guard the threshold. People believed these guardians prevented illness and misfortune from crossing into the home, and to ignore them was to invite disaster. In some regions, blacksmiths followed the anvil silence, refusing to strike their hammers during the first hour after sunrise, as early morning metalwork was thought to awaken mischievous underground spirits who caused cracks in tools, weakened blades, or lured travelers into danger. Instead, smiths spent that hour preparing materials quietly, waiting until the sun was fully above the horizon before beginning their rhythmic clangs. There existed another rule known as feather nights, where households were forbidden from leaving feathers or down exposed after sunset. Believing spirits of the restless dead sought soft materials to cling to, bringing nightmares to anyone who slept in those feathers the next night. Medieval inns operated under the peculiar tradition of coin resting, in which travelers who paid for lodging were required to leave their coins on the table for a full minute before the innkeeper touched them, allowing time for any lingering negative energy from long roads or dangerous encounters to dissipate. Innkeepers believed that coins carried the emotional imprint of their owners, and touching them too soon risked absorbing bad luck. In farming communities, people obeyed the grain greeting, where the very first handful of harvested grain had to be held up toward the sky for a few breaths before being added to storage, showing gratitude to unseen forces believed to influence the harvest. Failing to do this risked spoiling the stored grain or causing an early frost. Children grew up with the strange but serious whisper rule, taught to speak softly while near wells because loud voices were believed to awaken deep spirits or ancient echoes residing underground, spirits that could cause the water to run foul or dry up entirely. Even clothing followed bizarre codes in some areas. Villagers were forbidden from wearing completely new garments during storms because thunder and lightning were said to seek out anything unclaimed by history, meaning brand new. Cloth made a person more vulnerable to misfortune or spiritual attention. In the courts of nobles, there was a custom called the mirror silence, in which mirrors were covered whenever an important decision was being discussed, not only to prevent vanity, but because reflections were believed to distract the mind, splitting one's thoughts and weakening judgment during critical moments. Among traveling merchants, the rope oath held great importance. Before tying their goods for long journeys, they tapped each knot 3 times, symbolizing trust in their tools and warding off both physical and spiritual unraveling. The tapping was believed to strengthen the journey itself, calming the spirits of the road. Sailors practiced the wind bow, a small ritual in which they briefly tilted their heads in acknowledgement whenever a sudden gust of wind struck the sails, believing that ignoring such gestures angered sea spirits and risked turning favorable breezes into violent storms. In monasteries, monks observed candle humility, a rule forbidding them from lighting candles from another's flame without asking permission, as fire was considered a sacred spark of personal devotion tied to one's spiritual energy, and borrowing light without consent was thought to weaken both flames' purity. Among artisans, potters followed the empty kill vow, in which no one was allowed to look inside a cooling kiln until it had completely settled, not out of mere safety concerns, but because they believed that impatience allowed jealous spirits to slip into the pottery, causing cracks or flaws. In more remote villages, families practiced night soil silence, forbidding anyone from speaking while disposing of waste after dark, not only for modesty, but because they believed certain malevolent entities lurked around such places and were drawn to human voices. Hunters obeyed the first step rule, always stepping forward with their right foot when entering the forest to show respect to woodland spirits, who guided animals and protected hunters from losing their way. Reversing the step was considered extremely dangerous. Midwives adhered to the warm cloth promise, keeping a cloth heated by the hearth before any birth and ensuring it never touched the ground, as a fallen cloth was believed to remove spiritual protection from both mother and child. In bustling towns, traders followed the stall blessing, placing a small sprig of herbs beneath their stalls each morning to attract prosperity, while at night they were forbidden from removing those herbs until darkness had fully settled, because disturbing them too early was believed to disrupt the day's energy. Bakers practiced the turning loaf, briefly rotating each fresh loaf clockwise on the counter to ensure luck rose with the bread, while rotating counterclockwise risked confusion and wasted batches. Rural shepherds observed the evening hush, a rule that prevented them from calling their sheep by name after sunset, as doing so might allow spirits to learn the animals' names and lure them away during the night. And knights, despite their bravado and training, still followed the armor quiet, avoiding unnecessary scraping or clanging of their gear when preparing for sleep, believing noise drew restless spirits that fed on tension and fear. Even traders, returning from long journeys, practiced the threshold stillness, standing motionless for a moment before entering their own homes, so lingering spirits from foreign lands would detach themselves at the doorway, instead of following them inside. All these customs, strange, intriguing, and intensely symbolic, formed a protective web in a world where uncertainty dominated every horizon, where people relied on ritual to anchor themselves in storms of fear, insecurity, illness, and the unknown. And though these rules seem peculiar in modern times, they were once the heartbeat of medieval life, offering structure, meaning, and the fragile comfort of believing that, by following these invisible boundaries, one could tame the chaotic forces that shaped the world. In the quiet stretch of medieval life, where torchlight flickered against walls made of stone and simple people tried to understand the chaotic world around them, there existed a set of rules so strange that to the modern ear they sound more like scenes from a dream rather than guidelines meant to manage reality. Yet these rules, bizarre as they appear, were created for reasons that shaped survival, devotion, and everyday order in ways we rarely imagine today, beginning with one of the most unusual of all, the silent hours, a regulation found in monasteries, small villages, and even scattered noble estates, a rule that demanded absolute silence after sunset until the first bell of dawn, not as a spiritual command, but as an attempt to protect communities from misunderstandings, conflicts, and accidental violence in an age where the smallest misinterpretation could lead to a feud, and where darkness made even friends appear like shadows of danger. Communities believed silence gave the mind rest, reduced unnecessary disputes, and allowed weary bodies to drift into sleep without the fear of quarrel or noise. And because medieval towns were often cramped homes pressed together, livestock nearby, people sharing thin walls, one loud conversation after dark could disturb dozens. So silence was enforced not by force, but by shared understanding, with villagers quietly shutting doors, pacing slowly, speaking only when truly needed, creating a soundscape so still and gentle that by modern standards it would feel like stepping into another world. And within this silence, another strange rule existed, one called shadow restrictions, a belief that after dark no person should wander the streets without carrying a lantern large, enough to cast a full circle of light around them. Not because of monsters or superstition, though superstition always found a way to lace itself into the culture, but because in poorly lit medieval towns, full of uneven pathways, hidden ditches, stray animals, carts left in the open, and thieves lurking for opportunity, a single misstep could result in injury or loss. So carrying a lantern became a legal expectation, and anyone who walked without one could be fined or reprimanded by local watchmen, since a person without light was considered a danger, not only to themselves, but to everyone else who might collide with them in the dark. And this lantern rule became so ingrained in society that people decorated their lamps with carvings, painted symbols on the handles, and treated them like companions through the night. And along with the soft glow of lanterns came another curious custom known as the night water rule, which instructed people never to throw water, waste, or even leftovers out of their windows during the evening, because in tightly clustered medieval homes, most upper-story residents disposed of household liquids directly into the street. But doing so at night became dangerous, someone walking under the window and suddenly being drenched by a bucket of cold water or worse. So laws emerged that forbade the practice after sunset, and it was taken so seriously that some towns even posted night guards specifically to shout warnings to those who forgot, while others hung signs reminding visitors to be cautious. And though it may sound like a minor concern, it actually prevented countless accidents and injuries, preserving a basic sense of nighttime safety and teaching communities to respect shared spaces. And while these environmental rules shaped the night, another peculiar regulation shaped personal behavior during the day: the bread test, a law used mostly in rural areas, where bread served not just as food, but as a measure of honesty and economic balance. And because bakers were among the few who handled essential goods daily, towns feared that dishonest bakers might secretly reduce the weight of loaves to gain extra profit. So a rule was issued that every loaf must be baked at a specific weight, and if a baker was caught cheating, they faced punishment ranging from fines to temporary exile from the market. Yet, what makes this rule truly strange is the technique people used to ensure fairness before selling bread. Many bakers would add a small extra piece of dough to each loaf, creating what today we jokingly call a baker's dozen, not out of generosity, but out of fear, because penalties for selling a light loaf were harsh enough that bakers preferred to give more than risk punishment, turning an odd medieval law into a tradition still remembered hundreds of years later. Meanwhile, other rules controlled not food but appearance. such as the color laws, which dictated what fabrics and dyes a person could wear based solely on their social rank. And though this seems unfair today, in a time without modern identification systems, clothing became the easiest way to distinguish merchants from nobles, travelers from officials, and servants from freemen, preventing confusion in public gatherings, especially during religious festivals or market days where large crowds made hierarchy difficult to track. And because expensive dyes like purple, crimson, and deep blue were rare and costly, governments restricted them to the noble class, not only to maintain social order, but to prevent commoners from spending fortunes they couldn't afford, since many families were known to bankrupt themselves trying to imitate the clothing of people above their status. So these sumptuary laws, though strange, actually protected economic stability. And while these outward rules shaped society, even stranger ones controlled private life, including the window duty, a regulation requiring certain households, especially those in central streets, to keep a candle or lamp burning in their window at specific hours during special events or emergencies, transforming small homes into guiding beacons for travelers or warnings for nearby villages. And though simple, this prevented many people from getting lost in fog, darkness, or sudden storms, turning neighborhoods into networks of light long before street lamps existed. And in the world beyond homes, beyond markets, beyond the quiet glow of nighttime lanterns, there existed another rule so unusual it almost feels fictional: the animal trial requirement, where misbehaving livestock pigs that injured children, goats that destroyed multiple farms, or even roosters accused of disturbing too many households could be symbolically placed on trial before the community, not because people genuinely believed animals understood human justice, but because these symbolic trials reinforced social expectations, sending messages to careless owners that negligence would not be tolerated. And though it sounds humorous now, such rituals convinced villagers that justice applied to everyone in some form, maintaining peace in small, vulnerable communities. And woven among all these rules, quiet hours, lanterns, color laws, bread tests, and symbolic trials was one more, called the Hospitality Mandate, a deeply important regulation that required townsfolk to offer shelter and food to travelers during storms, harsh winters, or dangerous nights when inns were full or unsafe, because medieval roads were perilous, and leaving a stranger outside could mean exposing them to wolves, bandits, freezing temperatures, or illness. So even poor families were expected to share whatever they had, and refusing hospitality without reason could be punished or shamed, because society believed that refusing aid to a traveler might bring misfortune on the entire community. And while every one of these rules sounds strange, silent nights, lantern circles, animal trials, clothing laws, and bread inspections, they existed not to control people unnecessarily, but to give structure, safety, and meaning to a world where the margin between life and disaster was extremely thin. And as we drift deeper into these slow, calming memories of the medieval world, one can almost imagine walking through a quiet village lit only by lanterns, hearing nothing but the soft wind brushing against wooden shutters, seeing warm candlelight in distant windows, and feeling the curious blend of order, fear, tradition, and practicality that shaped these unusual but meaningful rules. The very rules that today sound weird but once held entire communities together, guiding their nights, protecting their homes, and giving them a sense of shared understanding in a world far more fragile than our own. In the quiet, shadowed corners of medieval life, where daily routines intertwined with superstition, survival, and communal understanding, there existed a set of rules so unusual that they seem almost mystical to modern eyes. Yet each had a purpose rooted in practicality, belief, or protection, shaping the rhythm of life from dawn to dusk and even into the depths of the night. Consider, for instance, the threshold reverence, a rule that dictated anyone entering a home, whether neighbor, traveler, or tradesman, must pause briefly at the doorway, remove their shoes, and touch the wooden frame or the lintel above, acknowledging the spirits of the household, who were believed to guard against illness, fire, and misfortune. And while it may seem merely ceremonial, this act enforced order, respect, and mindfulness, reminding everyone that the home was a sacred space requiring care. Beyond doorways, other rules governed movement through villages. Streets were divided by invisible lines of respect, where men carrying tools, women tending livestock, and children delivering messages were all expected to follow specific paths to avoid collisions, arguments, and misunderstandings, a practice born from both practicality and superstition, as collisions were thought not just to injure but to disturb invisible energies that protected individuals from harm. Markets were governed by their own curious regulations, such as the weight harmony rule, demanding that all scales be balanced carefully before selling produce, grain, or textiles, because it was believed that dishonest measures could provoke not only the ire of human authorities, but also spiritual imbalance, leading to failed harvests, illness, or misfortune. Merchants would often perform small rituals like tapping the scales 3 times or whispering protective words over the goods, blending practicality with mystical safeguard. In households, the silent hearth was a widely observed custom after nightfall. Cooking fires were stirred slowly, cauldrons tapped gently, and pots lifted with care, all to avoid summoning mischievous spirits said to dwell near flames, spirits that could cause illness, spoil food, or disrupt sleep. Families followed this rule with painstaking attention, walking softly, whispering prayers, and placing stones or salt near the hearth to absorb any lingering negative energy. Rural farmers adhered to the even footpath rule, which dictated that anyone returning from fields after sunset must take an even number of steps to maintain spiritual balance, prevent misfortune, and ensure that protective energies reached their home safely. While villagers also observed the shadow awareness custom, teaching children never to step on their own shadows during twilight hours, because shadows were believed to contain traces of wandering spirits that could influence a person's health, temperament, or luck if disturbed. Livestock had their own peculiar rules as well. Cows could not be milked too late in the evening. Pigs could not be allowed near certain paths, and dogs were trained to bark only when necessary, all believed to maintain harmony between animals, humans, and unseen forces that might be watching over the community. In some villages, a black cat crossing the road at night required a family to perform a small protective ritual with salt, herbs, or a candle to avert bad luck. Religious spaces contained rules that balanced ceremony with subtle superstition. Monks observed the candle vigil, ensuring no candle was lit or extinguished without careful attention to timing, orientation, and intention. For flames were considered spiritual conduits that could carry prayers, fears, or protection. A mismanaged candle could weaken these connections, leaving both the individual and the community vulnerable. In towns and castles, the lantern circle rule required guards to maintain patterns of light, ensuring that all corners were illuminated in a precise order, not only for visibility, but to maintain energetic harmony that supposedly warded off intruders, malicious spirits, and even illness. This created a rhythm of motion and sound, a careful choreography that shaped nightly life, instilling discipline while blending the practical with the mystical. Travelers, too, followed strange but important rules when approaching a village. They were expected to bow or nod, announce their name and purpose, and leave a small token of acknowledgement if possible. Rituals intended to demonstrate respect, establish trust, and prevent misfortune from following them inside, since strangers were believed to carry energies from other lands that could disrupt local harmony. Even the simplest acts, such as sleeping arrangements, were regulated by rules that might seem excessive today. Beds were placed in specific directions, feet facing doorways, blankets arranged carefully, and small bowls of salt or herbs kept nearby, all based on the belief that spirits could linger at night and needed guidance, protection, or a place to rest without harming the household. Craftsmen observed their own customs, like the tool integrity rule, which forbade anyone from handling another's implements without consent, because tools were considered extensions of their owner's energy and skill. Violating this rule was thought to risk injury, theft of ability, or interference from unseen forces. Public festivals and gatherings had intricate rules, too. No one could dance or sing before a particular hour. Fire pits had to be arranged according to precise geometry, and communal meals required specific seating arrangements, all intended to preserve spiritual balance, prevent quarrels, and maintain safety during the chaos of celebration. In coastal areas, fishermen adhered to the tide respect law, timing their departures and arrivals based not just on observation, but on rituals, offerings, and songs designed to appease the sea, believed to hold both bounty and danger. Breaking these customs risked storms, lost nets, or vanishing catch, making the combination of superstition and practical timing essential for survival. Meanwhile, the tiniest villages followed rules for such as the protective rock, where a smooth stone heated on the hearth was placed near a sleeping child to absorb nightmares, or the quiet cradle rule, ensuring that infants were rocked only gently and softly after dark, all intended to maintain physical safety while guarding spiritual well-being. And while each rule, from lanterns to livestock, from bread weights to sleeping positions, may seem strange, unnecessary, or whimsical today, they formed a cohesive system in medieval life, offering order, safety, and reassurance in a world full of uncertainty, danger, and unseen forces. Each custom intertwined with another, creating a rhythm of behavior that guided people through daily life and the long, quiet nights, shaping communities that, despite the simplicity of their tools and knowledge, developed a complex, deeply connected, and surprisingly effective set of rules to navigate a world that modern eyes can scarcely imagine. A world where even the smallest gesture, the softest sound, or the careful placement of a tool could mean the difference between protection and peril, health and illness, fortune and misfortune. In the intricate and sometimes mystifying world of medieval life, where every action carried meaning beyond the immediately visible, communities developed rules and customs that, while odd to modern eyes, served critical purposes, blending survival, social order, and spiritual belief into a single cohesive structure that governed behavior from dawn until deep into the night. Beginning with the pathway courtesy, a regulation observed in towns and villages across Europe, which dictated that pedestrians, farmers, and merchants walking along narrow streets or crowded bridges were expected to move in a particular pattern, keeping right or left depending on the region, stepping only at certain rhythms, and occasionally touching walls or posts as acknowledgement of passing spirits or fellow travelers. This might appear trivial today, but in medieval towns filled with carts, animals, and uneven cobblestones, such behavior prevented frequent collisions, disputes, and accidents, while also calming anxieties about unseen forces said to wander the pathways. Similarly, markets and fairs were governed by the price invocation, where merchants were expected to whisper blessings or recite brief phrases over goods before selling them to ensure honesty, fairness, and the community's prosperity. Violating this rule, though seemingly strange, was believed to invite misfortune, including crop failure, theft, or sudden illness, thereby creating a practical motivation behind the ritualized act. Religious life added layers of rules with deep symbolic meaning, such as the cloistered timing, which required monks and nuns to perform daily prayers, tasks, and study at exact hours, often synchronized to bells and natural events, creating a rhythm that governed work, rest, and meditation alike, while also reinforcing communal harmony and spiritual discipline. Even a slight deviation could be frowned upon, as it was believed that spiritual imbalance or inadvertent disrespect to divine forces could ripple outward, affecting both the individual and the monastery as a whole. In households, the fire etiquette dictated not only how and when fires could be lit or extinguished, but also where tools, cauldrons, and cooking utensils were placed around the hearth, based on the belief that improper placement might attract misfortune, harm livestock, or spoil meals. Families followed these rules with careful attention, often carving symbols into utensils, laying herbs around flames, or silently whispering prayers during daily cooking, blending pragmatism with mysticism in every task. Livestock management followed equally strange but meaningful customs. Cows were milked in a specific sequence. Sheep were counted aloud in rhythmic patterns, and chickens were never moved across paths without announcing their presence, all under the belief that animals, as sentient creatures, were linked to human fortunes, and that minor mistakes could lead to illness, reduced productivity, or spiritual disturbance. Even clothing had its own peculiar codes. Color hierarchy laws dictated which hues were permissible for peasants, merchants, and nobles alike, ensuring social order and preventing tensions in public gatherings. while also protecting families from economic overreach by discouraging costly imitation of the wealthy, and simultaneously linking individuals visually to roles, responsibilities, and societal expectations. Festivals, dances, and communal celebrations introduced the step protocol, which prescribed the order of dancing, the direction of movement, and even the timing of musical instruments, in order to avoid accidents, disputes, or spiritual imbalance. In these highly charged communal moments, the combination of superstition and social order created cohesion and prevented chaos. Despite the exuberant energy of feasts, maritime and fishing communities observed tide reverence rules, carefully timing departures, knots, and offerings to ensure safety and productivity, while travelers followed the acknowledgement ritual, greeting locals formally, leaving small tokens, or performing brief gestures to prevent misfortune and secure hospitality. Blending etiquette with protective superstition, children were raised under rules like the shadow awareness and quiet sleep customs, teaching them to avoid stepping on certain shadows at twilight, to whisper near wells or livestock, and to sleep in arrangements considered spiritually safe, promoting both mental discipline and safety in the unpredictable medieval environment. Artisans adhered to the tool integrity rule, never handling another craftsman's instruments without consent, to protect both physical safety and spiritual energy, while bakers followed the bread-turning rule, rotating loaves carefully and marking them with symbols to ensure prosperity, prevent theft, and maintain communal trust. Even in noble courts, there were subtle but critical rules. Mirrors were covered during important decision-making. Steps and gestures were measured for respect and ritual significance, and servants moved silently to preserve both decorum and spiritual balance, all of which reinforced hierarchy, safety, and moral order. Across rural and urban settings alike, these custom-silent hours, lantern placement, bread and grain rituals, clothing restrictions, festival steps, tool rules, and livestock protocols functioned as an intricate network, intertwining the practical with the mystical, the social with the spiritual, and the observable with the unseen, guiding communities through uncertainty, danger, and the constant unpredictability of medieval life, ensuring that each person, animal, and household remained protected, respected, and harmonized with the invisible forces believed to influence the world, creating a rhythm of living that was simultaneously strange, beautiful, and essential, a rhythm that allowed society to endure despite harsh conditions, disease, banditry, and the fragile limitations of medieval knowledge, forming a legacy of ritualized order, while peculiar to modern eyes, provided structure, reassurance, and quiet safety to those who lived within its careful embrace, leaving a lasting imprint on the collective imagination of a time when every gesture, step, and spoken word carried both practical and spiritual weight. In the sweeping panorama of medieval life, where towns were woven from cobblestone streets, timbered homes, and open marketplaces, an intricate network of rules and customs governed behavior with astonishing precision, guiding individuals, families, and entire communities through the uncertainties of a world governed by natural forces, human unpredictability, and unseen spiritual influences. Beginning with the waterway respect, a set of guidelines followed in villages and towns bordering rivers, streams, and wells, where no one was permitted to draw water after dusk without performing a small acknowledgement, ritual tipping a cup, whispering a prayer, or leaving a few drops on the bank, as it was believed that unseen water spirits guarded every source, and neglecting this practice could result in sickness, spoiled crops, or misfortune, while simultaneously instilling a sense of mindfulness and order in daily life. The fire arrangement rule was equally fascinating, dictating how hearths, ovens, and lamps were to be organized within homes, monasteries, and workshops. No pot could touch the hearth's edge, no log could be placed haphazardly, and candle flames were carefully aligned to prevent negative energy from gathering, reflecting the medieval belief that fire was not only a practical necessity, but a spiritual medium, capable of carrying intentions, blessings, and protection throughout the household, while improper handling could disturb invisible forces, endanger health, or even invite small disasters. Among merchants, artisans, and craftsmen, the weight and measure pledge mandated exactness in scales, ropes, and containers, often accompanied by a whispered invocation or brief symbolic gesture, ensuring fairness in trade, the protection of community trust, and, according to superstition, the prevention of famine or economic imbalance, while bakers applied similar practices in the bread balance, rotating, weighing, and marking each loaf with crosses or symbols before offering it for sale, combining practical accuracy with ritual protection. In households, the animal placement law was observed meticulously, dictating that cows, pigs, goats, and chickens occupy designated spaces at specific times of day, with particular attention to nighttime arrangements, as spirits were believed to roam freely after dark and could interfere with livestock if their patterns were disturbed, leading to reduced yield, illness, or even the disappearance of animals, while shepherds followed precise walking sequences through pastures to ensure harmony with natural and supernatural forces alike. Clothing and personal adornment were subject to color and rank edicts, which regulated what individuals of various social standings could wear, both to maintain social hierarchy and prevent jealousy or conflict, while simultaneously guarding against economic ruin for families attempting to mimic the attire of nobility. And merchants and artisans often adhered to elaborate rituals before beginning work, such as the tool consecration, wherein instruments were tapped, traced, or lightly touched with herbs to preserve skill, prevent accidents, and maintain alignment with the protective energies believed to accompany their craft. Even simple acts, such as walking through a doorway, were formalized in the threshold ceremony, where individuals paused, touched the frame, whispered brief protective words, or adjusted footwear, recognizing the home as a sacred space in which invisible guardians resided. Failing to observe this practice was thought to bring accidents, illness, or conflict, highlighting how intertwined physical movement and spiritual belief had become. Festivals and communal gatherings were orchestrated according to the step and song guidelines, regulating the order of dances, the timing of musical instruments, and even the placement of tables or fire pits, ensuring safety, communal harmony, and respect for spiritual balance. While harvest seasons invoked the grain blessing and hay sequence, requiring that first sheaves be presented in specific ways, that animals be fed in alignment with cosmic cycles, and that ritualized acknowledgments were performed to honor the land, the spirits, and the community itself. Travelers were expected to observe the hospitality etiquette, bowing or nodding, leaving small tokens, or performing brief gestures before entering towns, inns, or homes, preventing misfortune and fostering trust. While the lantern and torch rhythm dictated the careful placement of light throughout streets and homes, ensuring visibility, security, and the alignment of protective energies, particularly during festivals, storms, or nights of particular spiritual significance. Children were taught the shadow and sound discipline, whispering near wells, avoiding stepping on their own shadows, and sleeping in positions believed to promote spiritual and physical well-being, while nobles practiced the mirror and gesture rule, controlling reflections, movements, and attention to detail to maintain both decorum and spiritual alignment, blending practical observation with ritualized intention. Even mundane tasks, such as sweeping streets, arranging utensils, or handling coins, were codified into small yet meaningful customs. Sweeping at night was avoided to preserve blessings. Utensils were placed to balance energies, and coins were allowed to rest briefly before exchange, creating a structured environment that promoted trust, safety, and ritual harmony across every layer of medieval life towns, homes, marketplaces, fields, forests, rivers, workshops, and courts. These practices, though strange to modern observers, created a consistent rhythm, a choreography of gestures, movements, and awareness that minimized chaos, protected communities, reinforced social hierarchy, and offered comfort against the unpredictable dangers of disease, storms, wild animals, or human error, allowing people to navigate their world with confidence, structure, and faith in both practical and mystical protection, forming a framework of life where every action, however minor, carried meaning, and where adherence to these rules became a quiet, pervasive, and essential guide, shaping the medieval experience into a coherent, ordered, and surprisingly sophisticated system that ensured survival, harmony, and shared understanding in an environment dominated by uncertainty and the unseen. In the medieval world, where the boundaries between the visible and invisible, the practical and mystical, were thin and ever-shifting, a complex network of rules and customs governed daily life, ensuring that communities could survive, thrive, and maintain order despite constant threats from illness, famine, bandits, and the unknown, beginning with the night watch conduct, a regulation observed in towns of all sizes, which required that those assigned to guard streets, bridges, and gates carry lanterns, walk in specified patterns, and maintain silence punctuated only by soft warnings or brief signals, designed to prevent accidents, miscommunication, and disturbances to both people and unseen protective forces believed to patrol the night, reinforcing communal safety while instilling a sense of spiritual vigilance. Meanwhile, the well-whispering rule instructed villagers not to draw water without uttering a quiet invocation or performing a small gesture of respect toward the spirits believed to dwell beneath the water, a practice that reinforced mindfulness, avoided accidents, and symbolically connected human activity to natural and supernatural forces alike. In markets, merchants followed the measure and bless protocol, weighing goods with precision, tapping scales 3 times, and whispering protective phrases to ensure fairness, prevent disputes, and maintain economic balance. While bakers rotated and marked loaves according to the bread ritual, guaranteeing quality, protecting against misfortune, and reinforcing communal trust. These seemingly minor practices were in fact deeply practical, reducing fraud, ensuring survival, and embedding a rhythm of respect and caution into daily commerce. Within homes, the hearth harmony rule dictated how fires were lit, tended, and extinguished, with cauldrons positioned carefully, utensils arranged according to both convenience and ritual symbolism, and candles placed to channel light and protection throughout the space, reflecting the belief that fire was both a physical necessity and a spiritual conduit capable of influencing health, fortune, and harmony. Failure to observe these details could bring minor accidents, spoiled food, or spiritual imbalance, making careful attention essential. Animal care adhered to similarly meticulous codes. Cows were milked at prescribed times. Sheep were counted aloud. Pigs and chickens were moved in patterned sequences, and dogs were guided with specific instructions, all rooted in the idea that domestic creatures were spiritually linked to human fortune, and that neglecting these rules could cause illness, reduced yield, or misfortune. Clothing and personal adornment were controlled through sumptuary regulations which dictated colors, fabrics, and accessories appropriate to social rank, preserving hierarchy, preventing envy, and safeguarding families from financial ruin. While festivals and celebrations followed the dance and fire protocol, specifying the order of music, dance, seating, and fire placement to maintain communal safety, harmony, and spiritual balance, ensuring that joy did not descend into chaos. Travelers observed the approach, courtesy, bowing, announcing names, leaving small tokens, and adhering to ritual gestures to prevent misfortune and secure hospitality, while lanterns and torches were positioned according to the light rhythm to guide paths, illuminate streets, and maintain energetic alignment, particularly during storms or spiritually significant nights. Children were educated in the shadow and whisper discipline, avoiding certain movements, speaking softly near wells or livestock, and sleeping in positions believed to promote both safety and spiritual well-being, while noble households enforced the mirror and gesture code, controlling reflections, motions, and attention to detail to uphold social decorum and spiritual balance, blending observable order with ritual significance. Even minor actions, such as sweeping streets, placing utensils, or exchanging coins, were ritualized. Sweeping at night was avoided to preserve blessings. Utensils were arranged to maintain energetic balance, and coins were allowed to rest briefly before exchange, embedding care and mindfulness into everyday activity. Across villages, towns, fields, forests, rivers, workshops, and courts, these rules created a complex, interconnected system that guided medieval life with remarkable effectiveness, blending practicality with ritual, safety with spirituality, and human behavior with belief in the unseen, forming a framework in which every gesture, step, and sound contributed to the survival, harmony, and well-being of the community, establishing an enduring rhythm that allowed people to navigate uncertainty, danger, and the unpredictable forces of nature with confidence, purpose, and quiet assurance. and leaving a legacy of discipline, mindfulness, and mystical practicality that continues to fascinate, illustrating how seemingly strange customs once provided a coherent, protective, and deeply meaningful structure for living in a world far harsher and more mysterious than our own. In the delicate balance of medieval life, where practical necessity and spiritual belief were inseparable, a vast web of rules guided daily existence, shaping the behavior of peasants, artisans, merchants, travelers, and nobles alike, beginning with the lantern vigilance, which required that lanterns, torches, and candles be placed at specific intervals along streets, inside homes, and within workshops to ensure both physical safety and spiritual alignment, preventing collisions, fire hazards, and attracting protective energies while discouraging malevolent influences. This practice, though seemingly elaborate, created a rhythm that allowed communities to move safely at night, maintain social order, and integrate superstition with practicality. In households, the hearth ritual dictated the arrangement of fires, cauldrons, and utensils, blending the need for efficient cooking with a belief in unseen forces, so that fire was both a source of warmth and nourishment, blessing and domestic harmony, while the bread observation rule required bakers to rotate, mark, and bless loaves, ensuring fair trade, preventing disputes, and fostering trust within markets, illustrating how careful attention to detail was central to social stability. Livestock management was equally structured. Cows were milked in precise sequences. Sheep and goats were herded in rhythmic patterns. Pigs were kept on designated paths, and dogs were trained to respond predictably, all under the belief that animals were connected to human fortunes and that mismanagement could lead to reduced productivity, illness, or spiritual imbalance. Clothing and adornment followed sumptuary laws, dictating the colors, fabrics, and styles appropriate to social rank, preserving hierarchy, preventing envy, and guarding against financial overreach. While festivals and communal celebrations adhered to the order of steps, regulating dance, music, seating, and fire placement to maintain safety, harmony, and alignment with both communal and spiritual expectations. Travelers observed the greeting and token protocol, bowing, announcing names, leaving small gifts, or performing symbolic gestures before entering villages, towns, or homes, preventing misfortune and fostering trust, while streets, markets, and public spaces followed the step and silence guidance, directing movement patterns, managing crowd flow, and reinforcing social cohesion. Children were trained under shadow and sleep discipline, avoiding certain gestures, speaking softly near wells or livestock, and sleeping in spiritually aligned positions, while nobles enforced mirror and motion codes, controlling reflections, gestures, and positioning to maintain decorum, reinforce hierarchy, and harmonize energies within households. Even the smallest acts were codified, sweeping at night, arranging utensils, exchanging coins, and handling tools were all subject to rules designed to prevent misfortune, maintain energetic balance, and instill mindfulness, blending practical safety with spiritual care. Across villages, towns, fields, forests, rivers, and courts, these rules formed an intricate, interconnected system that guided life, ensuring survival, stability, and communal harmony. illustrating how medieval communities used a combination of ritual, discipline, observation, and superstition to manage uncertainty, danger, and human error. From lantern-lit streets to carefully arranged hearths, from precise bread handling to livestock patterns, from ceremonial greetings to festival choreography, every rule contributed to an overarching framework of order and safety, a structure so pervasive that it shaped the rhythm of daily life, offering protection, predictability, and comfort in a world where every action, sound, and gesture carried both practical and mystical significance, leaving behind a legacy of discipline, mindfulness, and imaginative resilience that continues to captivate our understanding of the medieval mindset. In the closing chapters of medieval life, where the interplay of rules, customs, and beliefs reached its most intricate and influential form, communities relied on a deeply interconnected system of practices designed to ensure survival, social cohesion, and spiritual protection, beginning with the lantern custody tradition, which required that lights, torches, and candles be maintained in precise locations along streets, bridges, and within homes, creating a consistent rhythm of illumination that guided villagers safely through the night, while simultaneously serving as a protective measure against both human and unseen threats. Failure to observe this practice could lead to accidents, conflicts, or misfortune, making it essential for the quiet functioning of town life. Homes adhered to the hearth alignment rule, dictating the careful arrangement of fires, cauldrons, and utensils to ensure safety, efficiency, and spiritual balance, reflecting the belief that fire was more than a source of warmth and nourishment. It was a medium through which blessings, protection, and harmony could flow, and neglecting this sacred arrangement could invite both accidents and disruption of household energies. In marketplaces, the measure and bless rule ensured fairness and trust, requiring merchants to weigh goods precisely, tap scales, and often whisper small invocations, while bakers observed the bread ritual, marking, rotating, and blessing loaves before sale to prevent misfortune, economic disputes, and to foster communal harmony. These practices, though seemingly peculiar, created reliability and structure in trade, reinforcing social trust in a world without modern regulatory systems. Animal care was equally meticulous. Cows were milked in precise order, sheep herded in rhythmic patterns, pigs guided along designated paths, and dogs trained to respond predictably, all under the belief that livestock were spiritually linked to human well-being, and that failure to observe proper routines could result in illness, reduced yield, or supernatural interference. Clothing and adornment were governed by sumptuary edicts, controlling fabric, color, and style according to social rank, preserving hierarchy, preventing envy, and ensuring families did not risk financial ruin, while festivals and communal celebrations followed the step and song protocol, arranging dances, music, seating, and fire placement to maintain safety, harmony, and alignment with both communal and spiritual expectations. Travelers entering towns or villages adhered to the greeting and token custom, bowing, announcing names, leaving small offerings, or performing ritual gestures to avoid misfortune and cultivate trust, while streets, bridges, and public spaces followed the step and silence guidance, which directed movement, regulated crowd flow, and prevented disputes or accidents. Children were trained in shadow and sleep discipline, avoiding certain gestures, whispering softly near wells or livestock, and sleeping in spiritually aligned positions. While nobles enforced the mirror and gesture code, controlling reflections, posture, and gestures to maintain decorum, spiritual balance, and social order. Even seemingly minor tasks, such as sweeping streets, arranging utensils, exchanging coins, and handling tools, were subject to precise rules designed to maintain energetic balance, prevent misfortune, and cultivate mindfulness, demonstrating the seamless blend of practicality, social structure, and spiritual awareness in everyday life. Across the entirety of medieval society, from homes and workshops to streets, fields, rivers, and forests, these rules formed a coherent framework that guided survival, order, and communal harmony, illustrating how medieval people intertwined ritual, discipline, observation, and belief to navigate uncertainty, danger, and the capricious forces of nature. From lantern-lit streets to hearth arrangements, from bread rituals to livestock patterns, from ceremonial greetings to festival choreography, every rule contributed to a rhythm that offered protection, predictability, and reassurance, creating a world in which even the smallest gesture held meaning and significance, leaving a lasting legacy of structured living, mindfulness, and imaginative resilience that continues to captivate modern understanding of medieval society. As medieval life progressed into its final chapters, the intricate web of customs, rituals, and regulations revealed its full significance, guiding every action, movement, and interaction with a careful balance of practicality, spiritual awareness, and social order, beginning with the night lantern protocol, a rule that mandated the precise placement and maintenance of lanterns, torches, and candles along streets, bridges, and homes, creating a luminous network that protected villagers from accidents, thieves, and negative spiritual influences, while fostering a consistent rhythm that allowed towns to operate smoothly after dark. In this way, illumination served both practical safety and mystical protection, reinforcing communal trust and vigilance. Inside homes, the hearth custody rule governed the arrangement of fires, cauldrons, and cooking implements, ensuring warmth, nourishment, and spiritual balance simultaneously, as fire was considered a conduit of blessings, protection, and domestic harmony, and neglecting its careful management could invite accidents, illness, or spiritual imbalance, demonstrating how the mundane and sacred were inseparably intertwined. Markets adhered to the scale and bless regulation, where merchants meticulously weighed goods, tapped scales, and whispered small invocations to guarantee fairness, prevent disputes, and maintain trust, while bakers observed the bread, blessing, rotating, marking, and sanctifying loaves before selling, combining practical accuracy with ritualized protection to preserve both social and economic stability. Animal care followed the livestock sequence, dictating precise schedules for milking cows, herding sheep, guiding pigs along specified paths, and training dogs in predictable routines, reflecting the belief that livestock were spiritually connected to human fortune and that proper care ensured productivity, health, and protection from unseen forces. Clothing and adornment remained subject to to sumptuary law, regulating colors, fabrics, and designs according to social hierarchy, maintaining order, preventing jealousy, and protecting family finances, while festivals, dances, and communal gatherings were orchestrated according to the step and music protocol, ensuring safety, harmony, and alignment with both community expectations and spiritual observances, guiding every movement, song, and fire placement. Travelers entering towns or villages observed the greeting and token custom, bowing, announcing names, leaving small gifts, or performing symbolic gestures to prevent misfortune and establish trust, while streets and public spaces were governed by the flow and silence guidance, directing pedestrian movement, managing crowding, and preventing disputes or accidents. Children followed the shadow and whispered discipline, avoiding certain movements, speaking softly near water or livestock, and sleeping in spiritually aligned positions, while nobles enforced the mirror and gesture code, controlling reflections, gestures, and posture to preserve decorum, hierarchy, and spiritual balance. Even minor tasks, sweeping streets, arranging utensils, handling coins, and maintaining tools were ritualized, reinforcing mindfulness, energetic balance, and social harmony, blending practicality with spiritual awareness. Across homes, workshops, streets, fields, rivers, and forests, these intertwined rules created a coherent system that ensured survival, social order, and protection against the unpredictable forces of nature, demonstrating how medieval communities used ritual, discipline, and careful observation to navigate uncertainty. From lantern-lit streets to hearth management, from bread rituals to livestock care, from ceremonial greetings to festival choreography, every custom contributed to a structured, harmonious, and deeply meaningful rhythm, allowing medieval society to flourish in a world where even the smallest gesture carried practical, social, and spiritual significance, leaving behind a legacy of order, mindfulness, and imaginative resilience that continues to fascinate modern observers. In the final reflection of medieval life, where the rhythm of daily customs, social order, and spiritual practice reached its most intricate and deliberate form, the extensive network of rules governing behavior, movement, and interaction ensured that every aspect of existence, from home and hearth to marketplace, street, and field, was harmonized for survival, safety, and communal cohesion, beginning with the lantern and torch precision, which required the careful positioning, maintenance, and timing of lights throughout towns, villages, and bridges to guide movement safely, prevent accidents, and protect against both human and spiritual threats, while establishing a reliable nocturnal rhythm that fostered trust, discipline, and vigilance among residents. Within homes, the hearth and utensil custody rule maintained that fires, cooking pots, and utensils were arranged with meticulous care, both for practical efficiency and spiritual alignment, as fires served not only to cook food, but also to channel protection, blessings, and balance throughout the household. Neglecting these customs could result in accidents, spoiled meals, or spiritual disharmony, demonstrating the seamless interweaving of the mundane with the mystical. Markets, workshops, and craft spaces were guided by the measure and bless and tool consecration practices, where goods were weighed precisely, scales tapped, and tools handled ritually to maintain fairness, quality, trust, and energetic alignment, while bakers observed the bread ritual, marking, rotating, and blessing loaves before sale, illustrating the deep integration of practical commerce with spiritual mindfulness. Animal management adhered to strict livestock sequencing rules. Cows were milked at prescribed intervals, sheep herded in rhythmic patterns, pigs guided along designated paths, and dogs trained with consistency, all reflecting the belief that livestock were connected to human fortune, and that proper care safeguarded health, productivity, and spiritual balance. Clothing, personal adornment, and public display were controlled through sumptuary laws, maintaining hierarchy, preventing envy, and protecting family finances, while festivals and communal gatherings followed the step and song protocol, directing dance, music, seating, and fire arrangements to ensure communal safety, spiritual balance, and harmonious celebration. Travelers entering villages or towns observed the greeting and token custom, bowing, introducing themselves, and leaving symbolic gestures or small offerings to prevent misfortune and cultivate trust, while streets and public spaces adhered to the flow and silence guidance, regulating pedestrian movement, crowd behavior, and spatial harmony to avoid accidents or conflicts. Children were raised under shadow and whispered discipline, avoiding particular movements, speaking softly near water and animals, and sleeping in spiritually aligned positions, while nobles maintained the mirror and gesture code, overseeing reflections, posture, and gestures to preserve decorum, hierarchy, and spiritual alignment. Even routine tasks such as sweeping, arranging utensils, exchanging coins, and handling tools were ritualized, blending practicality with mindfulness, social order, and spiritual awareness. Taken together, these layered rules and customs created an overarching framework that guided medieval communities through uncertainty, danger, and unpredictability, ensuring survival, order, and cohesion. From lantern-lit streets to carefully arranged hearths, from precise bread rituals to livestock management, from ceremonial greetings to festival choreography, every gesture and action carried practical, social, and mystical significance, forming a world in which structure, ritual, and mindfulness were inseparable, leaving behind a legacy of imaginative resilience, discipline, and harmony that continues to inspire fascination with the medieval way of life.